I mean, this is something that's a no-brainer. This animal could have literally taken that boy, and I wouldn't even want to describe it. So there was not a millisecond to waste on this. There's animal life and there's human life involved here, everyone. And obviously, someone said, well, can the Cincinnati Zoo or Columbus Zoo or any of our zoos do better? Safety is our #1 priority in our parks. The visitor, the animals, our employees, we practice hours and hours every week. All the American Zoo and Aquarium Association, we were required to practice safety all the time. I don't know what happened here. I don't know where the mother was. I can't blame it on her or anybody. I don't know what happened. But you know, how safe can we build a racetrack or a water park or a amusement park? How safe do we have to go? We have a responsibility, all of us do, with our families, and we do the best we can.
Okay, I got to do a story that's a little bit outside of my wheelhouse, but it's very hot right now. You got a lot of opinions about it. Now, I'm going to get straight to it. We're talking about the gorilla incident where a 4-year-old boy managed to get beyond some kind of security fencing and fall 15 feet down into an enclosure where you had 3 gorillas. Now, you had 2 female gorillas, which were instantly called back to their enclosure that was away from where the child was at. And then you had another male gorilla, a 17-year-old named Harambe, who actually had been born into the zoo system. A lot of folks on the internet are saying a lot of different things that they don't know are true or false. People are saying that the gorilla was captured out in the wild and then brought into the zoo. But the reality is that this gorilla was born in the zoo system as part of a conservation effort. If he was to be born in the wild or to be released into the wild, he probably would be killed instantly. Now, moving on from that. So that's how it's set up. The boy falls into the water. He falls into the exhibit and the gorilla goes straight up to him. Now, of course, people are freaking out because you have a child that is falling 15 feet. So you don't know if the child is seriously injured, if he has broken bones or what. And then you got a 450-pound gorilla. The gorilla goes over to him and then drags him. Now, when I say dragged, I mean he really dragged him. And the thing about it is, even the video, just seeing it from afar does not do it justice. You don't really understand the force with which this child was drugged. And you got to take into account that this gorilla is 450 pounds, but agile as a deer. Okay. These animals are not comparable in any kind of way to human beings. Only thing about gorillas that's similar to humans is just the fact that we're bipedal. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much where it stops. And we have thumbs and fingers and toes and stuff like that, but that's pretty much it, right? We're not anywhere close to being gorillas or their strength. A gorilla can take a coconut in his bare hand and squash it like it's a grape with minimal effort. Their strength is something that you really can't understand. You're talking like Incredible Hulk type strength. Okay. So for that boy to be down there in that exhibit with that gorilla, every moment that he was down there was endangering his life. Every second was endangering his life. And many people online are trying to comment because of what happened after the boy had been down there for a while. Now, the video that the zoo released was not the full time that the boy was down there. He was down there for about 10 minutes. And how the 10 minutes came to an end was that the zoo decided to actually kill the animal. People are saying that the gorilla should not have been killed. But here's the thing. You don't know what the protocol for that situation is. Some people say that they should have used a tranquilizer dart to get the gorilla under control rather than using lethal force. But there have been experts that come out and say, well, you can't do that because the tranq dart takes time to take hold. And when you shoot the animal with the tranq dart, they may become enraged. And all it takes is just for one swipe from this gorilla to kill that boy. And each waking moment that the child was down there with the gorilla was a waking moment to where that child could have been seriously injured or killed very easily. You're talking about a 40-pound at max 4-year-old little boy. That gorilla could have easily ripped him in 2 pieces in 1 second. So every moment that he was down there, it was precious. People are saying that the mother was negligent for letting the boy get away from her sight and fall into the exhibit. But here's the thing. You don't really know what happened. You have no idea. You don't see any video of the mother and the child interacting. You don't see any video of the actual fencing or the enclosure that the boy managed to get over or around or under. You have no idea. So you really don't know. And there's a petition on change.org to have the woman, Michelle Gregg, be brought up on charges and to have CPS involved. But it's like, look, accidents happen, just like Miss Gregg said. Accidents happen, and what are you really going to do? Now, some people are saying that it's inexcusable because people come to the zoo all the time. Hundreds of thousands of people every year, all the time they come through the zoo and nobody falls into the exhibit. But it's like, look, accidents don't happen necessarily frequently, but they do happen. And there have been other incidents of people falling into the exhibit at different zoos, of course, throughout the years. Incidents of zookeepers that are trained to be with these animals that get killed. So you really can't necessarily point the finger at the mother for what happened. It's just an unfortunate situation. It could have just been a freak accident that just happened. And what are you really going to do in that situation? There are those that would say that the animal had no business being in the zoo in the first place. But that's more of a philosophical argument, because at the end of the day, the animal is there. At the end of the day, the child wound up in the enclosure with this 450-pound, giant, agile, strong gorilla. So when that situation presents itself, what do? You must have a plan of action to save the boy's life. And you can't elevate a gorilla's life on there with a human being. At a certain point, we have to look at ourselves as humans as the dominant species. You can't just say that you can't kill an animal to protect a human being. That makes no sense at all. Because if it was the other way around, if you're in the animal world, if you're a gorilla and you have a human being hunting another gorilla, a baby gorilla or something like that, that female gorilla will not take they don't care about you being a human. They're going to protect themselves first. And that's the way it should be. I mean, that's just common basic knowledge. And I think a lot of the reason why people are upset about the gorilla being killed and the woman is because they're misinformed, and also because of group think, right? Some people say that the gorilla was killed to protect white life, not knowing that the child was black or is black. The child is okay. The child did not get killed. He just has minor injuries. I think he had a concussion and some scrapes, but that's it. Luckily, because it could have easily gone a lot worse. Just being drugged through the water, you don't know if the water has a flat, level surface on the bottom. It could have been rocks, twigs, branches, whatever, that when drug across, it could have easily split him in half. Like, you don't really know what's going on with the force with which he was drugged throughout the water by this 450-pound, extremely strong, quick and agile gorilla. You don't really know what could have happened. So he was lucky to have just those injuries. But these people online are saying that the only reason why the gorilla was killed was to protect white life. It's just being misinformed. People just don't really understand what they're talking about. And I think that people just need to understand that the zoo is trained in these situations to handle it. They're very much so trained in safety. They take a lot of precautionary measures, and they are ready for these incidents. I think that the gorilla was killed by a response team that was already at the zoo, that was prepared for just this moment, right? And the average person that's saying something negative in relation to what they would have done, what should have happened, what should not have happened, don't really understand anything about animals. And a lot of their outrage just comes from groupthink. In this case, it's electronic groupthink. They look at their phone, they're checking their social media, their Facebook, their Twitter. They see people upset, posting memes, talking about Harambe is a beautiful animal. He was killed senselessly. Rest in peace. The mother should be locked up. The mother should have been killed. So should the little boy. They see all of that, and then they say, okay, well, look, I want to join in too. I want to be a part. It's a bandwagon kind of mentality. And I see that a lot because people don't really know what they're talking about. I saw a video where it was some gorillas fighting in the zoo. I think it was in Omaha, and I post a link to that in the description box below so you can check that out. And then, of course, gorillas fight. That's what they do. And you have people in the background talking about, oh, call the zookeeper. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? This is animals here. Like, that's what they do. And that's kind of like what's going on here. People don't understand what they're saying. They're just talking out of emotion. Now, granted, I think it's sad that the gorilla had to die, but what are you going to do? Just because you think that it's sad that the gorilla dies, or that you don't really want the gorilla to die, doesn't mean that you just allow the child to be down there and to have that ever closing window of opportunity to rescue the boy just continuously close on him, because you don't know when the gorilla will just say, you know what, enough is enough. Just like the incident that happened earlier this year at a different zoo where a zookeeper was unfortunately mauled to death by a tiger. The actual zookeeper was not supposed to be in the enclosure, and for some reason they were there. I think the person that was normally handling that tiger had called out and they volunteered to go into the enclosure, but they should have not been in there. And the zookeeper became injured with a serious neck injury, and the tiger was hovering over the person looking like they were protecting it. But what I think it might have been the head person at the zoo said at the press conference was the tiger was taking the protective stance over its prey, right? It was prey guarding. That's what you do with your food before you eat it, to protect it from other animals that are out there. Now, of course, you're in a zoo and you're in an enclosure. There are no other animals really that's going to take your food, but you're talking about an animal that has wild instincts, so they're going to behave as such. So you can't just think that this gorilla, even though it was born in the zoo, is just a docile pet. And there's also a video of somebody had a pet lion in their house, and then a guest came over and the lion kind of mauled it a little bit. It didn't really maul it too much, but it mauled it enough to make you understand that this is a real live wild animal and they got to be respected as such. That's all I really got to say about it. I just wanted to give my 2 cents on it. I think the people that are calling for Michelle Gregg and her kids to be locked up or death threats, something like that, are disgusting people. I think a lot of people don't understand the situation as it exists in a whole. People just are upset and they want to be involved with this kind of groupthink and they just want to vent their frustration or whatever. And it's just unwarranted. And like I said before, it's unfortunate that the gorilla Harambe had to be killed, but what are you going to do in that situation? And I've asked that question to people that kind of disagree. And I say, what do you do in that situation where the gorilla is right there? 450 pounds, can kill any child instantly, could kill any human being instantly with minimal effort. What do you do? And you don't have time to waste. You can't just say, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. That's a hard decision to make. You got to make the decision because time's of wasting. When a child is down there for 10 minutes, just because it was not necessarily severely harmed does not mean that it would have made it to 11 minutes. To 12 minutes. You have no idea how wide that window of opportunity to make a decision to save that child's life is. So I think they made the right decision and they made it in the right time. So that's all I got to say. Whatever your comments are, positive or negative, let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe.